Hi guys, it's Lipstick Bailey. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about Love and Hate Nation. I've got my binder here. I was the social media manager on their 2019 Two River Theater production. And I've gotten a lot of questions about how I came up with the social media plan for that show. And I love the show so much, so I'm really excited to share sort of the inspiration behind it and how we made that happen. So for those who don't know, Love and Hate Nation is a musical written by Joe Iconis, and I will read the little synopsis that's on his website because I'm not even going to attempt to explain it in my own terms. But it's an amazing show. There's a bunch of clips of it on YouTube that you should totally look up if you don't know the music. The music is so fun, it's so amazing, and that stuff is there, so I'm not gonna include it in this video, but totally look it up. So I've got my computer here that has all of the Love and Hate Nation stickers on it that I'm gonna read from the Two River Theater website what the synopsis is. So, Love and Hate Nation, a turbulent rock romance by Joe Iconis, composer and lyricist of the worldwide sensation Be More Chill. Set in a 1960s juvie hall, Love and Hate Nation uses classic bad girl movies as the inspiration for the story of young people caught between eras of a changing America. 16-year-old Susanna Sun is carted off to the National Reformatory for Girls to get her head put on straight. There, she meets the aggressively incorrigible Sheila Nail, and a relationship forms, which leads to an all-out revolution in the institution as they attempt to break out of the boxes society has created around them. Girl group Wall of Sound harmonies are filtered through a punk rock spirit in this rebellious and romantic new musical. So I was first introduced to the show in 2017 when Joe Iconis asked me to create a little illustration to go on a poster of the production that was going to be put up at Penn State. That was the first production of it. And so I created two options, basically. He sent me this huge email full of different things that he had used for inspiration for the show. And that included movie posters, because he was influenced by a lot of different movies, different songs that I listened to, Pinterest boards of fashion from that era, and also this sort of counterculture movement called Riot Girls. And that was a 1990s movement that ended up really inspiring me later. I'll get into that. But for now, when I created the poster, Joe was basically like, I want something maybe with chains, maybe chains in the shape of Susanna Sun's logo, which is two S's that make a heart, or maybe the two girls kissing in jail. Sheila needs to be in a leather jacket. So he gave me all these stipulations, and I came up with these two options. Also, my window clings are making very strange things, but this was the first one. So the second one, this one is my favorite. So it's the two of them kissing in this Susanna Sun's logo, basically, made of chains. And this is the one that ended up getting picked, which I also love. And this is the two of them kissing sort of behind bars in this sort of kitschy, very two-dimensional bars, which is sort of what a lot of the movie posters looked like in that time. This one's fun because you can see their full outfits. Susanna is a lot more feminine, kind of quirky, and then Sheila has the leather jacket, which was very important. And so this turned into this, which someone at Penn State made, and it was very cool. I also have pictures of my dad and I went to see the production, and there were massive posters of it, printouts, and that was really cool to see. Yeah, so that was sort of the end of that for me in 2017. That's what I did. Was not really involved in the production at all, just made those illustrations. And then in 2019, when the show was going to Two River Theater, I was brought on as the social media manager. So what that meant in this context was that I was coming up with the content, creating the content, and posting it all. So sort of doing a one-man show of all of that, because it was a smaller show, not a Broadway show, because if you do that on a Broadway show, it would be 20 people working on that, and you have graphic designers and people who come up with the content, people who manage it, and people who ask for approvals and stuff like that. But on this, it was just me, which was a huge challenge, but really fun, and helped me sort of learn all of the different facets of that job, which is something I'd never done completely as an intern. I'd only interned prior to that, so now I had like my first real job. And so first things first, I had to come up with what the show would look like online, and I went through a lot of terrible ideas. I'll put them in here, before I finally went back to that original folder that Joe had sent me in 2017 as inspiration, and I was like, oh, I know what I have to do. And I was really inspired by Riot Girl culture, which I'll sort of put some posters in of that I did not create. These are just like Riot Girl sort of picture type stuff, vibes from them. And this was a counterculture movement in the 1990s. They sort of used like bastardized Archie comics and photocopier looks as part of the aesthetic. And so that's what I was like, I can do this because I'm not a graphic designer. I do make art, and so I was like, if there's something that I can incorporate like my art into, that would work really well. That's what I'm gonna do. So I came up with the idea to do basically the Archie comic things. This was the first one that I made. It was terrible, so bad. I was like, maybe I should put stars in their eyes because that's sort of a thing they did, but then that was not really cute enough. So then this was the first post that I made, that I sort of sent as like, we should do this. And I tried making the text myself. I was like, I can write it. Here's some more of the text. But then it was like, I don't think this is exactly the correct look. So we went with the comic drawings that I did. And then I would print off basically lyrics or whatever was supposed to go on and cut them out and just lay them. I didn't glue them or anything, just lay them on the picture. So it was words like this, lay them on the picture, take a picture of it, and that is how you got a post like this. And so then from there, I was like, we have to incorporate other things. So I sort of was like, how would this translate digitally into like a takeover? And so I used the background from what the logo that Two River came up with, was using that a lot, and then came up with, that was sort of the light background. And then I created my own dark background, which was like black with graffiti that was a little more neon. To just have two backgrounds to put text on, to put, promos, things that come up, reviews, just to use in general when I was creating content. And so then it was like, what does a takeover look like? This is what a takeover looks like. What does a quote look like? So it's like, oh, we should have sort of a theme of like taping, because that sort of goes with the Riot Girl vibe. So it was like a visual of things being taped down or glued down. That sort of made it pop in a way that was not so two-dimensional on social media, was kind of what I wanted to do. And so that evolved. I also created these little guys, these hearts and stars, and those I would take a picture of and then cut them out digitally and put them, like layer them. And so the other thing about all of this is I was in school at the time I was working on this. So I went to school in Berea, Ohio, Baldwin Wallace University, which is not New York, not New Jersey. And so I was sort of flying back and forth a lot to work on the show. And so I had to come up with things that could be done easily anywhere. And so that sort of turned into me creating these little Flatlay posts everywhere. There's a picture of me at Two River, like sitting in the hallway creating one of them. I could draw them. I had a baggie with like Sharpies, a bunch of lyrics for whatever I thought I would need. So I printed those off ahead of time, and lipstick. And I would also add lipstick to some of the pictures, just because that felt like a thing that the girls are, it's like a forbidden item in juvie hall. They're like writing on the mirror with like lipstick, stuff like that. And so I thought that was sort of a fun vibe too. And I would just like sit anywhere and like create these flat lays, and that's what I would post. So that was really fun. And then the other part of it is like approvals processes. So like obviously before you post something, it has to be approved by the producing team by Two River Theater and by the writer, Joe, and director. And I would create the posts and then send them to all of those people and then wait for approval. So it was sort of like working backwards from when I wanted to post something and knowing when it had to be finished and approved. And that was sort of a thing that just I had to learn that I had never really dealt with before because that had never been my job before. And so that is something else that was like a learning curve, but then I got used to it and it was great. And I understood how to do it. So the other really cool thing about working on Love and Hate Nation was that it was happening at Two River Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey. And so they were just really awesome to work with. Their marketing team was so creative, and they had this massive graffiti wall artwork installation in the lobby that served as an awesome backdrop for certain videos that we shot, and it really fit into the aesthetic of like what was happening online. And I feel like it was just a really great through line from like what you see online, what you see on the website when you buy the ticket, and then you're showing up in person and you're seeing this come to life even before you go into the theater and see the actual show. And that was just a really cool part of it that I think served really well on our social media as well, because people were taking pictures in front of it and that looked like what we were posting anyway. And so that was really, really awesome. Okay, so now I wanted to answer some of your guys' questions that were on my YouTube videos or on my Twitter or Instagram. You can follow me on all of those below in the description box. So these questions are from Sky Letha, and I think that they compiled them from a couple of you. So the first question is, how much of the art/graphics used in your social media campaign was created by you, and how did you decide the direction you wanted to go? So I sort of already talked about this, but basically all of it was created by me, except for the this graffiti background situation. That was created by Two River. This was from opening night, by the way. I think I stole it, but and beyond that, it was all created by me, and I sort of decided on it based on inspiration from Joe as well as what I knew I could execute personally. And so that's sort of how that happened. What did you find most surprising about taking on the full weight of a social media campaign? I guess the most surprising thing was just where it ended up. Like, I went into it having a rough idea of what I wanted it to look like, and then it visually turned into something completely different that I really loved. And it just was not a thing that I thought would go that way, I guess, if that makes sense. That was pretty surprising. Next is any favorite funny moments from rehearsal or backstage. So I wasn't really in rehearsal because I was in school, but we did a little read through of it before I left for school that fall. And this isn't really funny, but it was a really cool situation where I guess they had been sort of talking in the morning. I don't know, I wasn't there for that part. And then in the afternoon was the read through, which I got to go to, and everyone was sort of seated, had their scripts, they were ready to read through, and Joe was nowhere to be found. And then all of a sudden he sort of came running up from the basement, I guess, and had a new song that had just been written, and then he got it printed for the girls. And so they read through the song when we got to that part in the show, just sort of read through the lyrics because nobody knew what it sounded like. And then Joe played it on the piano, and it was so good and so amazing. And just a cool moment to be there for. What did you find to be the hardest part of your job? Honestly, the time management part of it was a big thing that there was just a learning curve to, in terms of the approvals process and having to plan a social media post, create it, and send it prior to when you want to post it. So sort of working backwards in that way was a challenge at first, but then I got used to it and got everyone kind of got in the groove of the approvals process and all of that. So then it was completely fine. What was working with Two River Theater like, and did you learn anything new from the experience? It was amazing. Like I said before, they were so delightful to work with. And I think the thing that I learned was I could work for a regional theater and be really happy doing so. I always thought I wanted to like, you know, work for only off-Broadway and like Broadway shows, which is like such a silly way to think, but that's sort of how I was. And then working with Two River was like, oh no, there's like amazing show like theaters that exist outside of the bubble of New York that do amazing work and have beautiful facilities, are not that far away from New York, and would just be really great to work for. Everyone who works there seems so happy, and like they were so fun to work with, and it was just great. So I guess that's sort of what I learned. Is there anything you wish you could have done for this campaign but couldn't for some reason? Honestly, I feel like most of the things that we set out to accomplish, we like were able to accomplish in terms of like running different campaigns. But one thing that I just always think is cool that like was not ever on the table or like in the budget for this production of the show, but that I just love in terms of a marketing campaign, is where you do individual pictures of all the characters like in costume, and I always think those look really cool on social media. Like Mean Girls did it, you know, where it's like on the white background and it's like them in different poses, and I think that would have been really cool for this show, just with like the girl group vibes. So yeah, I really, I guess, wish we could have done that, but that was never even like a plan that we discussed or was on the table. But I do think it'd be really cool in a future production of it to be able to do that, you know, with more time and more budget. Did you have any special fan interactions that you enjoyed? I don't really think a lot of people know like what the social media managers do, so it wasn't like anyone came and saw me and like was like, oh, I'm such a fan. But it was always fun to like, I don't know, it's just fun to watch the cast interact with fans and like just be really excited. There was like a handful of people that I like chatted to, but it wasn't like they were like fans coming up to me. So it was fun to talk to people in the lobby who were like excited about it. There were a couple of people who came in like cosplay of the show, which blew my mind because it wasn't like an established show like Be More Chill where people knew what the costumes were. And that was really, really cool. I loved that. And just seeing a bunch of like, I don't know, young girls come and like be like, oh my gosh, like I'm a lesbian and this is so cool to like see these like lesbian girls represented on stage in, you know, a very authentic way, which obviously is really important to me and I loved seeing as well. This is an interesting question. How can a fan best support the marketing team during a campaign? So I guess just some things that like you can do to support a show that you really love online is like sharing their posts, especially with the Instagram algorithm, like commenting or DMing the posts to people or bookmarking them really helps. You can also do that just for people that you follow that you really like and want to help. And that's always helpful. Sharing it, posting about it, all of that stuff always helps just get the word out. You know, tweeting about it, sharing your love for it, that's a really awesome thing because it's fun as social media managers when we have something to interact with. So like part of the job is community management, which I guess I didn't really talk about, but community management is where you create a voice for the show and respond to comments or posts in the voice of the show. So it's fun to have stuff to, you know, respond to and like actually community manage. Yeah, and so that's something that's helpful if you're, you know, really wanting to love on the show in that way. Okay, this is a question from @shirtnat on Twitter, and it says, how often did you interact with the cast and was everyone nice? I interacted with them a decent amount. Obviously, since I was at school, it wasn't like as much as Be More Chill, but they were all so fun and so talented and truly so gung-ho for anything that I threw at them in terms of social media. I think all of them did takeovers and they like were really into it, which was fun, and they were just like great to work with in that way. Yeah, it was really a dream show in terms of people being interested in the social media campaign. People posted really cool pictures from backstage, which is always helpful. Yeah, it was just great. And yes, they were all super nice. I feel like I didn't say that, and I don't want that to be taken in terms of like, yeah, I'm saying they were good to work with, but not nice. No, they were nice. This question is from Anonymous Bird 2. What part of your job as a social media manager never gets boring? I don't know. I think like just there's something to like getting on every day and not knowing what's going to be on the account that's kind of cool in terms of like new comments, new posts, especially when you're in the run of a show. When people are coming to the show and posting about it, that's super exciting. And I love that like never gets boring is seeing your guys' posts from seeing the show that pop up, which was especially cool when I was at school because sometimes you feel like disconnected from, you know, physically being there every night. So when I would like wake up or like at night, I would open and, you know, it's 8 o'clock, it's showtime and people are posting that they're so excited to be there. That was just a really fun part of the experience for me, especially being sort of remote for part of it. So the other question that Skyletha asked on Twitter is how much influence do you have as part of the creative team as like a social media manager? And this is a cool question. I feel like it totally varies, but on this show in particular, I feel like I had good influence. I don't know. I had no influence on the show, but on the way that it looked digitally was fully, you know, sort of from my mind with help and collaboration from the producers and Joe Iconis, the writer, and John Simpkins, the director, which was really, really cool. And I feel like they really included me, which was so exciting and awesome to be a part of because they all had such great ideas and were like excited about things. Which is just, you know, so helpful and fun. So, I don't know, moderate influence, no influence on the show itself, just on the way that it looked branding-wise. Okay, so as the sun is now encroaching on where I'm sitting and it's like fully just like blowing out this part of me, I think that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe button. If you super duper liked it, turn on that bell notification so you get notified every time I post a new video. Share with your friends, comment down below what else you want to see. I love making content that is specifically what you guys are interested in, so I love hearing what you want to know. Yeah, and I hope you like this video. Thanks so much, guys. Bye!